February 3, 2024. A routine software update across major sports broadcasting networks contains a curious addendum buried deep in the patch notes, a single line of text that would normally be scrolled past without a second thought. Enhanced Predictive Field Overlay, Axiom Protocol v2.1. To the casual observer, it's corporate jargon. To the network executives, it's a talking point for the next broadcast, a visual upgrade for the iconic first down yellow line, promising sharper graphics and more accurate placement. A simple quality of life improvement. But to a small, isolated group of digital forensics analysts working from a secure server in the Virginia suburbs, that line item was a flare in the dark. Because they weren't looking at the public-facing patch notes, they were looking at the source code. And what they found wasn't an upgrade. It was a ghost in the machine. Our investigation begins not on the field, but with a patent filing. U.S. Patent 11823-491, assigned to a Delaware-based shell corporation named Cognitive Dynamics, LLC. The patent is a masterpiece of obfuscation, a dense forest of technical language describing a system for real-time cognitive behavioral field demarcation. It speaks of psychometric feedback loops and adaptive visual heuristics. It sounds like science fiction, but when you cross-reference the patent's primary inventor, a Dr. Alastair Finch, his digital footprint leads you not to a tech startup in Silicon Valley, but to a senior research position at Ethelred Strategic Solutions, a defense contractor whose public portfolio includes drone swarm navigation algorithms and predictive crowd control software for urban pacification. Ethelred's clients aren't ESPN or Fox Sports. They are NATO, the Department of Homeland Security, and a cybersecurity task force whose operations remain classified. The official statement is that Dr. Finch's work for Cognitive Dynamics was a private venture, unrelated to his government contracts. But the money trail tells a different story, a story of black budgets and weaponized data. This isn't just a static graphic painted onto the screen. The Axiom Protocol is a dynamic, adaptive algorithm, a predator that feeds on data. It ingests a constant stream of information, the precise biometric output from player wearables, tracking heart rate variability and lactate thresholds, the decibel levels of the stadium, mapping the ebb and flow of crowd emotion, the sentiment analysis scraped from social media platforms, gauging the global narrative of the game in real time. And most critically, it plugs directly into the fire hose of global betting markets, monitoring the flow of billions of dollars, tracking odds shifts down to the microsecond. The yellow line you see on your screen isn't just showing you where the first down is, it's showing you where the algorithm you to believe it is. Axiom Protocol patent is designed to subtly drift, to imperceptibly adjust its position in real time. We're not talking about a 5-yard shift. The deviation is almost undetectable to the naked eye. A pixel here, a fraction of an inch there. A concept known in psychological warfare circles as perceptual creep. It's a ghost in the machine, whispering doubt into every close call, every measurement. Think back to last season's conference championship. The final drive, 4th and inches. The quarterback sneak, the pile of bodies. The referees come out to measure, the chains are stretched tight. The broadcast zooms in, the yellow line hovering just over the nose of the football. The entire stadium, millions at home, hold their breath. The referee signals first down. The home team erupts. The visiting team is stunned. The game is effectively over. But our forensic analysis of that broadcast feed, when compared to the raw satellite imagery, shows a discrepancy. A 7-centimeter drift in the Axiom line initiated 1.2 seconds after the play concluded, just as the broadcast director was cutting to the close-up. 7 centimeters, the difference between victory and defeat. The difference between a multi-million-dollar playoff bonus and a flight home. It was enough to create a subconscious bias, to cement a narrative in the minds of millions before the chains ever touched the field. The line didn't report the reality. It created it. It didn't just predict the outcome, it nudged it into existence. This isn't a glitch. It's a feature. The system is designed to exploit the gap between human perception and objective reality. It turns every fan, every commentator, every official into an unwitting participant in a grand deception. The question is no longer whether the technology exists. The evidence is irrefutable. The question is, who is sitting at the controls? Who benefits from turning the most watched sport in the country into a meticulously engineered psychological operation played out on a global stage?
Following the revelation of the Axiom Protocol's adaptive nature, we asked who benefits. The answer isn't a network trying to juice its ratings or a league trying to script a dramatic finish. The architect of this system has a far grander vision. Our investigation into the funding of cognitive dynamics and etho-read strategic solutions leads us down a rabbit hole of encrypted ledgers and offshore accounts, terminating at a shadowy consortium, Project Nightingale. This isn't a company, it's an ideology wrapped in a corporate structure. Formed in the early 2010s under the guise of a cognitive sports science initiative, its initial seed money traces back to a DARPA grant for non-kinetic influence operations and, more disturbingly, to a high-frequency trading firm known for its aggressive, algorithm-driven market manipulation. Project Nightingale operates from the shadows, a labyrinth of shell companies making its true ownership nearly impossible to trace. It has no headquarters, no public face, only a mission to perfect the science of mass perceptual control. The intellectual force behind Nightingale is a reclusive behavioral psychologist named Dr. Aris Thorne. Thorne's early work on neuromarketing and emotional contagion was once celebrated in advertising circles. But in 2012, he vanished from public life. His research papers suddenly classified, his name scrubbed from university directories. Our sources indicate he was recruited by the founders of Nightingale to weaponize his research. We unearthed a series of his academic papers buried deep within obscure, non-indexed journals. Titles like The Stadium as a Resonant Chamber, Acoustic Priming and Mass Emotional Response, and Visual Heuristics in High-Stakes Adjudication. In these documents, Thorne lays out the blueprint for the Axiom Protocol. He describes the modern sports stadium not as a venue, but a perfect laboratory, a controlled environment with a highly engaged, emotionally volatile test population. He details how to map the emotional arc of a game, identifying key leverage points, a controversial penalty, a crucial third down, a turnover, where a small subliminal nudge can trigger a cascading psychological effect, altering the behavior of players, officials, and the crowd itself. The yellow line, it appears, is not merely predictive, it's prescriptive. Subliminal perception in sports, it is the scalpel used to make the incision. By subtly shifting the perception of distance, even by fractions of an inch, it can amplify or suppress crowd reactions. A line that appears just short of the marker can generate a collective groan, a wave of negative energy that can subconsciously influence a referee's spot. A line that appears to just cross the plane can ignite a roar of approval, creating an atmosphere of confirmation bias that makes overturning the call on the field psychologically difficult. This is control. Control over the narrative, control over the spectacle, and most importantly, control over the billions in global sports betting. This is where the high-frequency trading firm comes in. They aren't just funders, they are the primary end users. Their algorithms aren't just watching the game, they are reading the Axiom Protocol source code. They know, milliseconds before it happens, which way the nudge is going to be applied. Before the controversial play even unfolds, they know the most probable psychological outcome. They can execute millions of bets on live, in-game propositions. Will the next call be a first down? Will the coach challenge the play before the human market can even process what it's seeing? It is the perfect crime. Insider trading, where the inside information is the pre-programmed manipulation of reality itself. The game isn't being fixed in a back room with a bag of cash. It's being tilted in real time by an invisible algorithm for the benefit of financiers who see the sport as nothing more than a highly predictable, highly profitable asset. Whose fingerprints are truly on this algorithm? Dr. Aris Thorne's theoretical framework, Ethelred's military-grade code, and the insatiable greed of a shadow bank. But the true horror is that football is just the testing ground, a proof of concept. If you can subtly manipulate the reality of 100 million people watching a game, what can you do with a political debate? A news report on market instability? A broadcast of international tensions? We've uncovered a redacted Nightingale internal memo. It mentions Axiom v 3.0 and something called the Truth Consensus Model. Its target isn't a football field. Its target is the entire global information ecosystem. The game is over. The real operation is just beginning.